the lesson. I hope that you are fine, and I hope that your family is fine as well. um, Today we're going to analyze, we're going to make comments about one of the most important topics for teachers, which is classroom culture and all the important aspects that these topics involves. When we talk about culture, for instance, we might think about art, we think about beliefs, we think about all those things, that we have, right, in our lifestyles. Now, when we talk about classroom culture, we're talking about behaviors, habits, and then stuff, right, that we can modify, during a learning process of students, of course. So during this week, we're going to be checking some aspects, right? And we're going to analyze the concept of classroom culture. And of course, we're going to give our point of view about this thematic, which is important for you, you know, because it's not just about habits. It involves also seating arrangement. It involves classroom management and all those little details that all teachers need to know when teaching a group of students, right? So this is gonna be useful for you guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you also ask, okay, and discuss and propose as well, So here we have two important questions. What comes to your mind when you listen to the word classroom culture? Huh? What comes to your mind when you listen to the word classroom culture? Number two, do you know any activity? I'm talking about activity, any activity for implementing classroom culture, right? So what we're going to do right now is that we are going to have a short discussion, okay, in the breakout rooms, and we're going to discuss these two questions, okay? I'm going to create group of 3 or 4, okay? So let's go and discuss. Hola, Giselle. Hola, hola.
Casi no puedo hablar.
Ajá, no, te iba a decir que te voy a dejar solita aquí por un ratito, o solo que te una a las otras conversaciones, pero solo para escuchar por tu condición.
Vaya.
Bye, bye, chill.
Activities, of course, and then students and teachers can contribute with this model way. So I think that if all of them they put the rules and work together, it's going to be good. I guess. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I go along with that explanation. I think we have somebody else. That's Kevin. So I don't know if Kevin can share with that what he thinks classroom culture is.
Oh yes, sure thing. Yes, I was reading a little bit about classroom culture, and I found out that as a teacher, we have to, to help the students and to share the students among everything. I mean, we have to make the student to feel comfortable in the class, to feel safe in the class, while while they are doing something. So basically classroom is about that, to include the students in everything that we do as a teacher. So that is basically what I understood about this one.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with your opinions, and I think that you said it all. Uh, I only would like to mention that classroom culture is one very important aspect that the teacher must take into account when teaching, because in the classroom culture we set agreements with the students, not rules but agreements. So these agreements keep the control in the classroom, and this as well helps the students to engage with the class and the content that we are teaching in the class. So I think that if a teacher is teaching a class and doesn't have classroom culture, that man is lost, right? So I think that we have time to answer the second question. I don't know if Oscar can go first.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please? Hello?
Honestly, I don't remember exactly the question.
Yeah, the
Somebody
question
else.
was an activity that probably, I guess, you can use with
Oh yeah, that's right.
the I
See,
mean
The question,
a
hello, I'm
culture
sorry to,
process.
sorry for interrupting. The question is about if you know about an activity for implementing classroom culture.
okay, so Oscar, go ahead. One activity.
Okay. I would say that in the first class of any course, we can implement uh, an activity that implies set agreements together and let students they have a nice role, sorry, in the classroom, because they will be part of the class, and their opinion is really important for the teacher, and also the teacher's opinion is really important. So what I think is set agreements, not rules, because agreements means that all of them uh, all of them are agree in a common stuff in order to make the learning process better and work efficiently. That's what I think.
Cool, awesome. Thank you. Let's hear Jancy.
Well, in my case, I don't know any activity, but
The Death's Day, I think. About ¿cómo se llama este? Los indígenas, tipo de trajes así. Where they can make like a role play, I think, with that kind of activity. I think they use different kind of suits, and maybe we can implementing that activity in a classroom culture. That's what I think, right?
Yes, that could be a really good activity that we can implement in a classroom. Maybe exchange the way that people from some specific country dress, maybe exchange the different meals that they have, different food,
Yeah,
typical food, or something like that, right? That I think that was you are referring to.
yeah. I mean, that's the point. And let's see. Well, another activity that can be implemented in a kind of classroom. Well, mhm. And I don't like. I don't have an idea today. I don't know. Mm, I mean, just that. I can just refer or relate that kind of activity that I said before.
Can implement is give them responsibilities such as let them water the plants, let them monitor the cleaning of the classroom and keep it clean and keep the order in the classroom. So those are some activities in which the students can feel that they are important in the classroom and they can feel engaged with the classroom as a whole. So
Teacher, I think your micro's on it. Your micro.
Yeah, I yeah, it's off.
Oh, my bad. And I was killing myself talking. That's funny.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I was like,
That was a good one. Oh my God.
oh
Well,
my goodness.
anyways, anyways, I said that congratulations to Jeffrey, Oscar, and who was the other one, and Osvaldo, because I was in the breakout rooms listening.
Jancy too.
Jancy as well, right? So I was there listening, and I was saying that you guys have a pretty good idea about what classroom culture is and about the activities. Jeffrey was saying that assigning responsibilities to students is one of the activities that you can implement, and that's right. You can assign them responsibilities, especially for those difficult cases. When you have a hyperactive kid in a class, that's a nightmare, believe me. And I have had different levels, and I can tell you that it's hard. um, once I was teaching preschoolers. I don't know if you have taught classes at that level or not. If you have, then you know how difficult it is, right? They don't even know how to speak Spanish really well. They don't know how to write in Spanish. They don't know how to speak English. Like there are many issues. So what you have to do is to focus on games and things that caught their attention. So my point was that I had this girl, she was very hyperactive and she had some behavior problems, I would say. And she used to walk. I mean, she used to walk around my classroom. I had like 12 students, and she used to like walk around the classroom, and she used to hit the other kids and take the pens from other kids. And I mean, I didn't know what to do. So what I did at the end, after 3 classes, because I used to talk to her mother, and she was a psychologist. So I used to talk to her, and she didn't even respect her mother. So it was a very special case. However, at the end, I realized that the kid, I mean the little girl, um, she was suffering because her parents was getting into a divorce and all that process, and that's painful for a kid. That affects their behavior. So when I talked to her mother and I realized what was going on, I used a puppet. I used a puppet. It was a bunny. So I called the puppet Mr. Bunny, and with the puppet I tried to caught the girl's attention, and I started to talk to her. And the little girl, for her, was like a game. And I used the puppet the whole course, and I talked to her, with the puppet. It wasn't Mr. Torres, it was Mr. Bunny. So she used to listen to Mr. Bunny. She didn't listen to me, but she listened to Mr. Bunny. So I took advantage of that, and I started teaching her, and that was, the medicine for her. So what I want to say with this is that all the kids that have some problems, when in the behavior, like when they misbehave, then there is always a way to help them. But you don't have to give up. You have to find ways and be patient. Okay, be tolerant, because once this girl throw a piece of paper in my face. She throw it right to my face. Okay, so can you imagine how annoying is that? And her mother was in front of me, and her mother didn't say anything, and I was like, right. So I just laughed, and I said, okay. And then, then at the end I found a way to talk to her and to teach her, which was my objective. Uh, However, assigning them responsibilities or caught their attention using things they like, it's a really good way of you know touching their heart. And then when you touch a kid's heart, then learning can be better. And they will appreciate that, and they won't forget that. All right, so I was reading this part. Most teachers can recall points in their formative years when they were students in a classroom with a negative culture, right? Many remember how damaging it was to their overall desire to learn. Now, do you remember your favorite teacher at school? Like when you were in school, regular school? Do you remember your favorite teacher or no? Or you didn't have a favorite teacher? Somebody? Are you there? Are you asleep?
Well, yes, I did have one favorite teacher.
Okay. And what was his name?
Yes, and I can was Richard.
Okay. Why do you remember
Yeah.
him?
Oh, I recall him because he was like he stood out of the other teachers because he was not like the others. And his class was like really dynamic. We were laughing all the time. It was not boring at all the teachers that I had at that time were like, okay, I'm going to dictate this text and you're going to write it down. And everything was boring. And with that teacher, it was different because we were like playing and I did learn a lot with that teacher. So I recall him for being a really interactive teacher. And that was my English teacher in the elementary school.
Okay. Somebody else? Osvaldo, do you remember your favorite teacher?
Oh yes, sir. I do remember my favorite teacher. It was in, if I'm not wrong, it was in the seventh grade. It was elementary school, and he was the math the math the math teacher. I remember that he used to teach in the funny and the easily way, and for me that was really important because I was able to learn really easier than the others teacher. So that was why that man was my favorite teacher, because the way that he used to teach was really different from the rest. So that was one of the things that really caught me, and I recall him as as my favorite teacher. But I remember a lot about him, and in the future, I guess I can take as a role, and I can take some of the point that he used to mention when I was in seventh grade, sir.
Thank you very much. Now, let me ask you another question. Do you remember your last favorite teacher?
Uh, I would like to I would like to participate here as well, Mr. I don't know if I
Okay.
can.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. It was in the ninth grade at the same elementary school, and I did have one specific teacher that I will not say that she was annoying at all, but I guess she was kind of like rude. I will tell you a brief story. I
Okay.
remember that that teacher used to divide the group in three parts: the
Okay.
sagacious, I mean the smart guys, the
Wow.
guys that were not good at all, and the guys that were bad. And I
Wow.
remember that that was really bad for me because that teacher put me in the middle of the group, the guys that were not sagacious at all. And I guess it was not comfortable at all because she was all the time with the guy that were really smart, and the
Yeah.
rest of the people were like ignoring, like, okay guys, you don't know anything about this, I will be with this group. And I guess that was like really hard for me because she didn't care about the students that were not intelligent, or they were not like the people that were really well. So that was exactly why I didn't like that teacher at all, and I hope that teacher switch that kind of methodology that she used to say. But it was like exactly something that I didn't like at all about that teacher, Mister.
Yeah. Right. Wow. So sorry, man. I'm so sorry about that. In education, you should always remember something. Your words can build, and also your words can destroy. That's why we have to be careful when we correct as well. We cannot segregate, students. We cannot divide students, you know, in groups, because I mean, you're creating barriers, and then you are sending a message to your students and you're telling them you're not good. And you never, I mean, never allow somebody to tell you that you're not good, because all of you have different capacities, different learning styles, and I mean, you are good at something, you know what I mean? So I hope that this teacher, as you said, has changed her mind and her methodology, because we cannot have this kind of teachers, in education. I mean, no, it's not possible. And I'm sorry for you.
Mister,
Yes.
I want to ask you a question, and it's related with the point of Kevin. That was a really good point right
All
there.
right.
Okay, my question is, how do you deal as a teacher with segregation? But not segregation because the teacher does what the Kevin's teachers did, but when the segregation is among the guys, the students, when they say, okay, you three know a lot, so you're gonna be in my group, and
Oh,
then the guys that know almost nothing, they are like put a part of the group of the
yeah,
one that knows.
yeah.
And I don't know, how would you deal with that case of segregation in the classroom?
Oh, well, that's a pretty good question. There are many things that you can do, Jeffrey. One of the things that you can do is that as a teacher, you create groups, okay? You see that problem in your classroom, and when you're planning a group work, then you select the people. Okay, you tell the ones that are, you know, smart, and then you assign them. You assign them students that have some difficulties in the subject, and you talk to them first. Okay, you talk to them. You call them and you talk to them. Okay, listen. I have assigned you in this group because I want you to help them. I have seen really good skills on you, and I think that you are a natural leader, right? You tell him that, and you look at his eyes, and you tell him that I think that you are a leader, okay? And I want you to help this group, okay? So your responsibility is gonna be to help them, all right? And I'll be monitoring. That could be one, right? You are assigning a role to this smart student. I mean, in quotation marks, because all of the students are smart. So, and you use him, as a leader, as a tutor. So you assign him a role, right? And then when you assign him a role, he's going to feel important because you have given him a role. And the other students are going to be there. And probably if they don't understand you, right, they probably understand the student. Sometimes you can use your students, your own students, to teach others in the classroom. Okay. And that works. I have tried, and that works. Another thing that you can do, Jeffrey, is plan, uh, how do you call it, building community. I call them building community activities or teamwork activities. Those activities, they don't have, well, they do have a purpose, but they have nothing to do with the topic. So what you do is that you create an activity, in groups, and you mix them up. Okay, you don't let them decide. So you mix them up, and the activity wouldn't have something to do with the topic, but it will give you a lot, you know to improve the atmosphere in the classroom. For example, have you ever played the chocolate river game? No. Chocolate river? No. The marshmallow challenge? No. Do you know these activities?
No, sir.
No.
I have never
Okay.
heard about that one.
All of them are, uh, how do you call it? Team building activities. That's how you call it in English. Team building activities. And these activities are really useful for getting to know each other, to get confidence. I mean, to improve people's behavior, because they have to work as a team in order to get an objective. So nobody wants to lose. Like kids, they love competing each other. So they have to compete for getting something, and they have to do it together. So all those building activities help your group to know them better, and at the end, it's good because some of them maybe they didn't have time to know each other, and they start like talking, and they become friends. So when you get that in a classroom, then your class would be better. Like your teaching atmosphere will change. So Jeffrey, for answering your question, my answer would be team building activities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any other question? No, okay. So going back to what we were saying is, I was mentioning good teachers and, well, not good teachers, your favorite teachers and your least favorite teachers. I was mentioning them because most of the time, our our teaching styles, um, they mark students, they make students remember us, and it's a responsibility. How do you want to be remembered? And if you want them to remember you as a bad teacher or as a good teacher, you know what I mean? So, and all of this has to do with building a positive classroom culture. Now, how can we build that? Well, we're gonna learn some things. We're gonna learn how some techniques and some activities that we can do in order to improve that part in our classroom, okay? So let's see, Ezequiel, would you mind helping me with this reading, please? This paragraph?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Classroom culture info. Negative classroom environments are not conducive for learning, whether they are the result of building of teachers who aren't proactive about classroom management. Teacher and student both contribute to a classroom culture, but teachers are ultimately responsible for making it a place where students feel supported, safe, and willing to share their ideas.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Ezequiel. So, so this is a responsibility between teachers and students, right? Now, uh, you probably remember all those negative things because your teacher had a different focus. Sometimes, sometimes, like when you are in a negative classroom culture environment, learning is affected. You know, for example, I remember when let me see, who was it? Osvaldo was sharing his story. I mean, and Jeffrey as well. Jeffrey was saying that he liked his teacher, his English teacher, because he was dynamic, because they were laughing all the time. So the picture that comes to my mind when he was saying that, I mean, the picture that comes to my mind is that a teacher that was patient, a teacher that loved what he was doing, he loved it. So, I mean, creating a classroom culture has to do with your likes. You know, if you want to do that, because sometimes you got teachers that they don't have. I mean, they study to become a teacher because they didn't have more options. So, loving what you do, it's an essential part of this. And there are two types of people that I have known. I have I have met people that they love what they do, and you can see it. And I have met people that they probably don't love what they do, but they do their job. You know what I mean? And I have met a third kind of people or type of person that they don't love what they do and they don't do their jobs. So I have mentioned three categories. All right, I'm going to continue in the next video call because the time is over. Okay, so I'll see you in 30 seconds.